Well, the weather outside is frightful, but the fire is so delightful. And since we have no place to go, let's do a podcast. Hey, Tara.
Hey, well, thanks for bringing up fire again. It was a trigger word, but yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm sorry. I keep forgetting that. No, just staying warm any way, shape, or form is a good idea. Tell me a little bit about what's going on. The last 48 hours has been, I don't know, cold cold.
Yes, it has been. We've been living off those hot hands and the hot toes, and they've basically been saving us. But yeah, it's interesting type of precipitation. I was hoping you could maybe shed some light on it and kind of how it came to be too.
Oh, we can do
Not
that.
really used to this.
We can do that. We can do that, no problem. I know you're all science all the time when it comes to this sort of thing. But what was unusual about this storm? First of all, the Mid-Atlantic is uniquely positioned for cold air with what they call a warm air intrusion, followed by a warm nose, followed by what could have been the worst part of the storm, which we did not get, and I'm very thankful for. When the water does turn to liquid and falls as liquid when it's 19 degrees, we could have had a tremendous ice storm, power outage, all those kinds of things. That's what kept me up at night. I was really afraid of that because there's
Hmm.
nothing you can do when ice falls. It's heavy, it's destructive, and that didn't happen because it stayed cold. And as the moisture fell, we saw 2 and 3 and 4 inches of sleet, which I've never seen before. Have you ever seen kind of weather like this?
No, I mean it's like picking up little pieces of styrofoam pellets. So
It was
no.
crazy. It was crazy. So anyway, in terms of the weather, it could be. Let me throw climate adaptation at you here. Maybe not climate change, but as you know, we've discussed in the past that when the planet gets warmer in certain parts, it can hold more moisture. Normally, we would have gotten, I don't know, half inch of sleet, maybe 3/4 of an inch. But because there was so much moisture in the air, there was 2.5 inches of liquid availability in this one. And it
Hmm.
fell as little ice pellets. And if you look outside your window right now, as I know you can, it's actually kind of pretty. It looks like snow until you step on it. And then it's
Right.
ice. And it's going to take some period of time to melt because, as you know, the forecast is unusually cold for the next 10 days. So
Hmm.
that brings me to your situation. You've got to be very active on the farm right now. There's a lot going on. Can you tell me what is your number one concern for the various things you're looking at?
Really, for me personally, so thankfully Tom's taking care of the feeding and everything. It's just going out early in the morning, breaking ice midway through the day, breaking ice at night, uh, just keeping it completely broken when I can, making sure the chickens have enough feed or access to feed. I gotta shovel them pathways, shovel whatever I need because they won't. I mean, it's just like they'll walk out, peek their head out, and go, "That's a no for me, dog," and just turn around and go right back in the coop. So keeping that good, and
Wait a
then
minute. Wait a minute.
thankfully they lay their eggs
That's a
later in the
no for
morning.
me, dog.
So I have to go out midway through the day, collect them, because if not, I mean, they come out about, I would say,
Yeah.
their body temperature for them. So it takes a while for them to kind of reach freezing and actually freeze and
Sure.
turn into this weird slushy gel mess. But once they do freeze, they'll split in the whole entire, you'll just see this giant crack and fissure, and that whole entire egg's just, it's useless. I can't sell that. So you have to get them before they freeze.
Hmm.
So
That's
constant, constant, constant.
and is that's really time sensitive, right? It happens or it doesn't. You got to get there in time.
Oh yeah. I got there, didn't know what was really going on a few days ago. I got there
Hmm.
later than I thought, and probably like 30% of them were starting to crack as I was
Wow.
getting them. So that sucks. So just constantly trying to keep up with stuff, and of course not slipping yourself out there with the ATV. It's pretty difficult, and sliding back into the electric fence. That's always, a fun little risk that you take there. But yeah, just constant, constant. But at least the sheep, I mean, they're nice and warm. They don't care. They're just out there.
Well, they're built
But
for that, aren't they?
oh yeah, they're fine.
So
But
they're all good.
if they even know what's really going on, sometimes I'm not really sure.
Okay.
But just a lot of work. It seems like a lot of busy work going out there, busting stuff. But That's what it is. How are you guys over there?
We're good. We're kind of locked down a little bit. A lot of ice and a lot of
Yeah.
hills. I have discovered that tractors and hills will cooperate with each other, except the hills win. So as you start sliding sideways, it's like, well, okay, let's see where this is going to take us. So I'm learning as I go. I'm a city boy on a icy tractor. There we go.
Ugh, well, I just need for somebody to invent something that I can shove up my nose out here during this stuff, because that is possibly the worst. It's absolutely, and you can't even feel that it's happening. That's the worst until you come across someone like,
Yeah.
and, a neighbor walking down the driveway, and
Yeah.
it's
Hey.
it's different than having something like a piece of spinach stuck in your tooth. That's easy to kind of bring up, but not when it's like this. But
I'm so glad
say
I'm
la
talking.
vie.
I'm so glad I'm
Mm,
talking to you right now. You're making me feel so much better. Oh,
mm,
that's crazy.
Stir crazy, but
Uh, so,
so hopefully the forecast is looking better. We're hearing some more stuff about this weekend though, so maybe you can give me the lowdown on that.
all
And is this
right.
expected? Am I just going to continue in this wintry hellscape forever?
I so hate to break your bubble. I feel like I'm letting you down on every corner here, but no, we're going to stay brutally cold for a week, and then there's snow in the forecast this weekend. That dreaded 7-day cycle that can happen sometimes when the storms are coming from the Pacific. Takes a little while to get here. Computer models will overly predict what's going to happen, and then they arrive. So, I don't know. Single digits for sure every morning, 30 if we're lucky, 20 if we're expecting reality, and then snow for the weekend. Now, will it happen by the time this goes out, in the podcast world? I don't know, but we certainly now have to prepare for it.
Oh God, it is kind of nice though, because it does make you think about all the hard. We're not used to this, we're not used to having to feel like you have to prepare for survivalist mode. Do you have everything you need at home? How are you going to make it out if you can't actually make it out? Like I kind of like it. It makes me have respect for humans, which is a first for me. So I kind of like it, harkening back to hundreds of years ago. How do we prepare for this stuff? How do we survive? What do we do in the house when we're all together without killing each other?
All I could see was Little House on the Prairie with that little call there, so I don't know.
God, but at least you guys are functioning well over there.
Yes, everything is going to be fine. I'm kind of worried about you sometimes because you do juggle a lot of things, as we've learned on the podcast. You think about a lot of things, you study a lot of things, you work at a lot of things. What is your sense of where we are right now? We're in late January, going to February. Where do you stand in the world?
It like, whoa, okay, narrow it down for me a little more, just like my thoughts on what in particular.
I gave you the wide open platter, but I
Eh,
sense that you are thinking about something that I don't know about. That's what I'm trying to drill down on.
well,
What are you thinking about?
what I've been thinking about lately is, humans, we try to keep ourselves busy and occupy ourselves with something. We don't like to be alone with our thoughts. So I think when we're unable to leave the house, we start dwelling even more and more on our thoughts. And when the only thing that we have is the internet and our little echo chambers and talking with each other on that dreaded social media, I think people get so wrapped up, and I can kind of see the angst and kind of, I don't want to say turmoil, but I see a lot of activity online. I don't really like social media or kind of participating in it, but I've been thinking about that a lot lately. I don't know, thinking about people's emotions kind of trapped up inside them, especially with winter, and just dwelling and thinking on things. And it just seems like everybody wants to act on something. They don't really know how, but they're itching to do something. Do you get that feeling?
Oh, very much. Being being caught inside of a small space and having to, I don't know, worry about things, right? Worry comes in. I was so worried about this storm that I'm just now relaxing and going, okay, here's what it did. Dang it. I've got ice everywhere. What am I going to do to get out of my house?
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm doing. I'm recovering from the angst of 3 or 4 days of um, worrying about things. I don't think I've told you, but my students at Virginia Tech had wild snow forecasts for this one, and I said, how much, guys? 15 inches, 10 inches, 9 inches, 28 inches, 38 inches. And I said, where'd you get your information? They said, from my phone.
Hmm.
I'm afraid to
It
lay that on your doorstep, but that was where the information came from.
was it actually models predicting it, or was it just
Sure.
hearsay online, cool
Oh,
fear
no, no.
mongering? Because
No, no.
everybody likes a crazy prediction.
Oh yeah, no, it
We
was
live for that.
yeah, and the bigger the better. But no, this was science inside of a an iPhone kind of thing, because when you ask the question matters. And
Hmm.
and I think we're going to find out a little later on with Tom that the timing is really what matters. If you ask too early, you're going to get a goofy answer.
Well, then how do you prepare?
You expect the worst and be happy when it's less.
Hmm. Well, it's hard to live a positive outlook on life with that kind of perspective, though, right? In general.
I
Hmm.
think life is funny that way, don't you think?
Mm. I, I, I haven't been, well, it, it's funny. Oh, yeah, so but it is interesting seeing people deal with this. Hmm. Actually, at the store at Food Line, we had to go. We were getting uh necessities, I guess you could call them. It was 10% off the six bottles of wine. That was actually all we needed to get from the store to prepare for the snowstorm. And so we were in there, and I noticed that everything in the produce section, right? Nobody, I don't know a lot of people that cook from scratch, to be honest, but the whole entire onion section was wiped clean. The green stuff, that was there. It was just like there was like a salt circle around that. But the onions were wiped out, and I thought, are they consciously, actively participating in buying the onions because it's going to be a storm and they keep really well? So I just wonder how much of this stuff is kind of built into humans too to prepare. I don't know.
Teresa's sitting right across the room from me. I'm going to answer for her, and then if she throws something at me, I'll know this was the wrong answer. What do you do with onions? What are onions good for when you have a bunch of them? Soup. What's good in a storm? Soup.
That's a uh, you not not in this house, but I appreciate it. Yeah. Hmm. Uh, no. Uh, no.
Not good in this
But
house.
yeah, actually, have you heard of that great, fantastic YouTube channel, the Townsends? I think it's just
Yes.
called Townsends.
Okay.
He does like kind of, I'm talking about colonial America,
Yeah.
awesome research on recipes. He
Yeah.
dresses up all the whole entire getup and everything.
Yeah.
Fantastic episode on onions and how they keep and making some, like, I guess it's kind of colonial. What is colonial? Onion soup recipe. You might actually look that up. It's really interesting. He's great.
I will look it up. We will make it. And we're inviting you over to our house and we will taste it because apparently, Tara, winter is on full alert right now. More down the road. And what I want to do is just wish you and Tom well. I know you've got this figured out. Let's keep it safe, shall we?
Okay, let's keep it safe. I don't have it figured out, but I'll be safe.
So Tom joins us now, and I have a sneaking suspicion that he's been dressed in all of his finest warm weather clothing and looking out into the distance and saying, "What did Mother Nature do to us?"
That's right, Robin. I feel like the little boy from the Christmas story where he has on 15 layers and can't quite put his arms down to his side.
I tried to get out of my outfit the other day, and I realized I was not doing it properly, and I could not get my arms out. So you forget, right? Or at least I do. Tell me a little bit about what you've experienced on the farm. Clearly, this was kind of an unusual event. Super cold, super
Hmm.
ice ball, as in sleety. Snow was a concern, and yet the computer models were a little bit aggressive on snow totals when in fact it turned out to be all sleet. And people don't really understand sleet sometimes. That was snow that got melted and then refrozen in this really cold air that we're in. From your farming standpoint, what does this bitter, bitter cold really mean to you?
Well, Robin, there's really kind of two different parts to that. So we have the precip, and we also have the temperatures themselves that pose all sorts of challenges. As it's getting very, very cold, and these wind chills are really making work outside a little bit more difficult. The way this stuff came down, it kind of came down to snow, and then we had this sleet that sort of interlocked into the snow, and it made this really crusty, heavy, hard to move, hard to clear off of things. It essentially slowed everything down. Everything on the farm is taking a little bit longer to do than it normally would. And when that's paired with this really cold weather, we have issues with water freezing. We have issues with, vehicles starting, other things breaking just because of the cold weather, mixed in with all this.
So that was during the precipitation event, which is, took place over the weekend, primarily Sunday, although Saturday was the precursor. And then all day Sunday, it was pretty to look at, but it was difficult to be out in. And then Monday rolls around, and it's the sun is sort of shining, but things are getting crustier. And you and I know that super, super cold temperatures can be a real problem for farm equipment, tractors starting, that sort of thing. But as we look ahead, as we're recording this, Tuesday and Wednesday look to be super seriously cold. We're talking about, 0, -2, that kind of thing. And I know there's always a confusion about wind chill. People think that wind chill affects things like tractors differently, but it doesn't. It's just the flat out temperature. What serious things do you have to face during this?
So as it gets a little bit colder, the wind chill is a concern for live animals, and for probably the farmer. In fact, I'd say most farmers that are pretty good are probably going to animals are probably going to do better than the farmer will in this cold weather. That wind can make something like frostbite happen on cattle's ears if cattle don't have a windbreak. But most of these animals we have they're pretty hardy, and Virginia is still a pretty mild climate compared to many places in the U.S. This is not completely unheard of, but for our area, for this period of time, it definitely is um, a more rare event to have. The equipment and the water itself, yeah, the wind might help water freeze a little bit faster when you have open watering troughs and whatnot. But um, if you have something that's kind of like the tractor engine and so forth, like you're speaking of, yeah, it'll still be harder to start. You start getting down below 20 degrees, a lot of things start to show their teeth. Uh,
You've been very helpful in sharing with me what works right for you and what works sort of wrong for you. What I'm kind of curious about now is what's keeping you up at night. What are your top of mind issues, say 1 and 2 for the next week? Because we're not going to go above melting um,
mhm.
in for about a week or 10 days, which is kind of unusual for us. Normally we have a couple of peaks in there, but this Arctic outbreak from the north seems to be pretty serious.
Well, I'll tell you what kept me up last night, and it's not what you would expect at all. Our walk-in freezer actually was having issues getting cold.
No.
So as everyone else is freezing, our walk-in freezer, the temperature was getting up towards 20 degrees, and it's normally uh, in the negatives. The snow and ice actually built up around the compressor, and it was affecting it. I had to go out there and clear that off at about 1 a.m. last night. So not quite what you would expect yesterday, but moving forward, the big things when it starts getting this cold and this windy, uh, there's two things. Water is the biggest concern, fresh water for animals, and keeping pipes from freezing. It's a lot easier to keep a pipe from freezing than to try to thaw it out later or deal with the mess afterwards. Uh, we, in certain situations, have water where we try to keep it moving or keep it dripping. We have other things where we have heaters in the chicken waters to try to keep that water from freezing up so the chickens can still get water even when it is this cold. Um, the other thing, I'm not sure how much wind we're going to get. Luckily, a lot of ice is not on the trees, but if we have a lot of dead ash trees around our area now from the ash borer that has come through, and I'm somewhat nervous about trees falling on fences and then having to go get to them and clean them up when it's wind chills in the negatives.
When we look at the commercial side of your business that is, customer related, walk-in related, that sort of thing with your farm store, um,
hmm
how has that been going? Any issues with that?
Well, as you might kind of guess, it's everyone still has to eat because we have plenty of customers coming out. But what you're seeing is everyone's coming out right before the storm, and then there's a defining moment as the snowflakes started to fall. Everything kind of got quiet, and we didn't see anybody for a little while. But I'm assuming a lot of people will kind of come out right before the storm, stock up, do what they need to, weather the storm, and then we'll see them again in a couple days.
That seems so true. And as I look at the forecast, it appears that this coming weekend, like this past weekend, might in fact have some more wintry precipitation. It's cold. There's no break in the Arctic, push on this one. But thoughts as we record this, it's about 5-6 days away. What does that mean to you? How do you plan for that?
Oh gosh, Robin, you're the first or the fourth person today that has mentioned that to me. And each time it keeps getting worse. It started, someone was telling me it'd be another 3 or 4 inches, and I heard someone say 9 inches, and someone else told me 17 inches. And I don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to have to go through it one way or the other, and hope for the best. The big thing is I don't think we're going to get very much melting this week of what's already on the ground.
Yeah, just what
So any new precip's just going to kind of land on top and will likely accumulate, I would guess, instantly.
you're right. But solar things work well in certain situations. Blacktop melts quickly, even with just solar, even in cold temperatures. But you're exactly right. Here's the fun thing you just described. This event that we've just come through, you may remember, and you probably do. It was going to be a lot of snow, wasn't it? They were measuring it in feet at one point.
hmm
Just for fun, my students at Virginia Tech were predicting upwards of 30 inches. Um, but that's because they were looking at their apps on their phone and didn't have any science behind it. But in
hmm
this particular thing, as we look ahead, there's no way to know. We're 6 days away. Storm hasn't even formed yet. But the computer models are a real tricky thing to follow. Your phone apps are a really tricky thing to follow. From a farming standpoint, what do you go to try to find out what might be just around the corner?
Well, I like the computer models are really neat to watch and kind of give you an idea of maybe the general direction of things. Though my experience, Robin, from my standpoint, these computer models, particularly more recently, they seem to struggle in our area between the mountains to really predict things accurately. I mean, there's a lot of different airflow patterns and so forth that go on through the mountains through here, and that really does affect what we end up getting. Um, that's where we get a lot of our other information from, I guess, with the snow would be, you look at a couple different models, you look at a couple different local forecasts, and any good farmer will probably tell you they have 3 or 4 different weather apps on their phone, and really it just gives us a good idea. And then maybe about a day before the storm comes in, it's actually been fairly accurate. And that could really give us a just enough time to kind of do our finished preparations for what we might need to do. Of course, hearing something like 2 or 3 feet of snow when you're measuring in feet, that opens a whole another world of issues and problems that we might have. At that point, we have to dig a path pretty much everywhere just to be able to move around.
Exactly. You make a good point here, and that is within a day or two, most computer models capture the essence of what the storm will be. Early on, it's making estimations based on what it knows before the storm actually forms. And that's great. That gives us a heads up, right? But at the end of the day, you have to be smart. You have to adapt to what's going to happen. And truth be told, this last storm we had, 2 days out, it captured it. It said sleet, sleet, and more sleet. And But in my experience, I've never seen sleet cover the ground like this one has and make it look like snow. Every time I walk out there, I go down about 5 inches and go, whoa, what just happened? That was really a lot of ice on the ground.
I believe there was a little bit of snow mixed in here and there, and that might be one of the reasons that it kind of has a appearance more of just normal snow. Um, I remember the Eskimo culture has about 35 or more different words for snow, and I'm sure they have a word for this type of snow as well. Because as you're saying, it really is some sort of a hybrid, I think, between sleet and snow. And as cold as it was really weird that I thought that came down to sleet. You'd think as cold as it would have been completely snow. I mean, it was in the teens and we're getting sleet. And normally I would think that's snow temperatures.
Yeah.
And
Yep, you're right. There was a thing that we like to call the warm nose, which is kind of weird. But if you look at the upper air sounding of where the warm air is, it projects outward like 30, 32, 33, 34 degrees, while this ice and snow above it is falling. It melts it instantaneously and turns it into these little ice pellets. So it's fascinating to watch. It's what we call a forecast buster. But I think everybody got the winter event that they were expecting. Just kind of curious as we round out your part of this podcast, what you think about coming up. What's ahead for you?
well, Robin, I'm not sure about warm nose. I would completely disagree with that. My nose has been frozen the whole time.
Yeah, no, right? That's meteorology for you. Hey, Tom, hang in there, tough man. It appears that the winter's going to be active, like once a week seems to be the thing. So keep doing what you're doing, and we appreciate you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Robin.
Thanks for joining us for this edition of the Forgotten Fields Project. Remember, your likes, downloads, subscriptions, and shares help the podcast grow. Do you have a topic you would like us to explore or a question about our farming community? Simply head to our website, ForgottenFieldsProject.com, and leave us your comment, or reach out to us at info@ForgottenFieldsProject.com. The executive producer is Teresa Reed. Tara Williamson and meteorologist Robin Reed are your hosts. We hope you will join us again next time as we explore more trends in agriculture. And we invite you to explore past episodes wherever you get your podcasts.